In this video, we're going to be making an embroidered paper bookmark, so let's get started.
All right, I was on Pinterest, as I am, so much, and I saw these embroidered bookmarks made by this creator, and I was like, I want to try this. So that's what we're doing today. So I did come up with a pattern off camera, but I need to kind of make it nicer on camera. And I'm also going to have some sort of PDF for you if you want to make the exact same one, so that you don't have to do all of this part of it. But basically what I did is I got some graph paper. This one is 5 blocks per inch. I'm gonna put a link in the description box below for where I got this. It was really handy because they had all sorts of different graph paper that you can download and then print out. I will say though, you need to put your settings so that it fills the whole page in order for it to actually be the accurate size. So that's why I'm having to do this over again, because this one just didn't end up the same size. So I'm gonna tell you about some of the materials I have and then we'll get going. So I have my graph paper and just a really thin black pen. I have some watercolor paper. So this is what I'm gonna actually be embroidering onto. I figured watercolor paper would be a really good option because it's really nice and thick and I like the texture, but I think any thick paper, cardstock, or whatever you have would work for this. Then I also have just a cork, what is this called? I call it a heat pad, but basically something that you can poke through the paper and into. So I saw someone else use cork, so that's what I'm gonna use. Then I have an awl. So you need something to be able to poke into the papers so you can get all your pattern marks poked into it. And then I have a bunch of embroidery thread and an embroidery needle and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do first is draw out this pattern, and then we're gonna cut it out and poke all the holes into the actual paper. So what's nice about this is that we're not guessing where to put the holes. We're gonna have them actually punched in before we even get started. All right, I'm gonna do that and then we will get poking. All right. So I'm just playing around, trying to figure out what it is I'm gonna do. See, this can be such the challenge. I think it's the challenge I was literally just describing, where you can get sort of that design or that decision paralysis where you're just like, does this look good or does this look good? Should I do it this way or that way? So that's where I'm at, but I kind of like just this more simple design where let's just draw it over here as well. So it's just like more simple lines on the side and then the flowers in the middle. I think I might be liking that better. So this version over that one. Okay, I think I should just do that. So I'm gonna start over, and that's okay. Sometimes, you know, that's just how it goes. Now I can at least find the bottom of my little bookmark based on this, so I don't have to like count everything again. So once again, I'm gonna mark out the whole outline, which is just gonna be little dots, because we are going to stitch basically 2 pieces of the paper together so that we have something to cover up the back. So this is the end. I kind of want to keep things decently simple for my first attempt at this because, you know, do I even like doing this? That's what we don't know yet. And that's what I need to discover. Okay, you guys, I did it and I only made that one mistake. So I feel like that's a bit of a win. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. And I wanna cut right on those very outer lines so that I kind of have a visual of the whole bookmark. We have another step done. So here's my next thought. I think before I even cut this out, oh, let's not bend that. I wanna just maybe tape this down, punch all the holes, and then cut it out, because I know I can use this measurement and I could even mark it out with pencil where to cut it. Does that make the most sense? I think so. So I think I'm gonna make little marks on all the corners, and that will tell me where to cut this out afterward. And then I'm gonna tape this down just so it doesn't shift. And now I can take my awl And I'm basically now gonna have to go ahead and poke all the holes. And I should double check that whatever needle I would like to use will actually fit through those holes, because this is just, I think this is a bead awl, so it's sort of to help, you know how sometimes when you buy beads, there's like, you can't always get your needle through, and that helps kind of punch it through. So I'm gonna see what needles I have for embroidery, making sure I choose one that has a big enough eye for the embroidery thread. And the thread I'm using is just like DMC. I think that's kind of the most common embroidery thread out there. Okay, so it looks like that will fit through. So now what I want to do is put this needle through. That's actually kind of perfect. So I'm happy with that. So we'll go ahead and keep using that same awl to punch the holes. So just make sure whatever you're using to punch those holes, you can even use a needle, but you might want to make sure it's like more of a chunky needle than just your actual needle, because you want those holes to be, I think, slightly bigger than your needle so that it goes through pretty easily. All right, I'm gonna get punching. Already, I just want to say, if you can get your hands on an awl that has the handle closer to where the tip is, that would be better, because I'm having to kind of hold it down here, and I could see that becoming really annoying over time. Okay, observations. Again, I'm not quite using the right tool, so it's not the most ergonomic situation, and my hand is getting stiff. So I'm glad that I chose to try this on something as small as a bookmark to start with, but I am still excited to try this. I think I also, to be honest, get my hands get cramp. Wow, words are hard. My hands get crampier than probably most people's do, because I just work with my hands quite a lot. But if you're someone who, maybe if you crochet or you knit or something like that and your hands do get sore, this is going to also probably contribute. Oh, that looks cool on the back. And maybe there's a better way to do this. Maybe there's a faster way to do this. But I do think just having the right tool would make this a lot easier. But for a one-off, I think just use what you've got and take breaks if you need to. Okay, let's just take one more look at the back to make sure it doesn't look like I've missed anything. I think we're okay. So now we're gonna see what this looks like. See, and you can even see that like not all the holes are perfectly placed. All is well. So now I'll go ahead and cut this out. So I'm gonna line up those little marks I made with my pencil on my paper cutter. If you don't have a paper cutter, you could definitely like draw the line out with a ruler, or just cut it with a ruler. So get a cutting mat, have like an X-Acto knife and a ruler, and just be really careful. Sometimes I can look at crafts online and be like, that looks pretty easy. And then you get going on it and you're like, you know what? There's just a lot of little things to think about that you're just like, should have thought of that, should have thought of that. Like right now, I can see that it's definitely not perfectly even all around. I don't know why. So I find sometimes with my paper cutter, I don't always get the straightest cut, which seems weird. I wonder if I can mark them out now. And I don't want to punch it through this way, because if I do that, as you can see, the paper is punched toward the back, and I kind of want to keep it that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark them out with the pencil. And because my cut isn't perfect either, I think this is the way to go. So fascinating, honestly. I don't know about you, but sometimes when you are creative and you make a lot of different things, again, like I was just saying, you can look at something and think, I could make that. That looks pretty easy to make. And then there are all these little details that you don't think about until you actually go to do it. And that's where you realize that it's actually a bit trickier than you initially thought. And it does kind of give me, every time this happens, it gives me a whole new respect for the other versions of, like the versions of this I saw on Pinterest that were like so perfect. I'm like, man, that actually is not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna mark a T on the back top of this one and then flip this over and mark a T on this one. I basically need to make sure that they're going to meet up the correct way. So now I can go ahead and punch all those holes and then cut it out and we get started with stitching. First, we need to go ahead and pick colors. So I'm kind of thinking potentially like a yellow color for the actual flower portion of this. And then maybe, what colors do we have here? We could just do all yellow and blue. That might be really nice actually. So I might do the main triangles, or sorry, diamonds in a dark blue, and then maybe the secondary ones in the light blue and then back to the dark blue. And then maybe the middle of the flower could also be the blue again. So let's go ahead and start with the dark blue. And I haven't done an embroidery project, like a legit embroidery project, in so long. I have no idea how to calculate like how much string I should be taking right now. Well, maybe I could just line it up, but then I'm gonna need a lot more than that. I'm just gonna grab a nice long piece and see how far that gets me. So I'm gonna be basically using this as a pattern. I'm gonna start from the bottom. How do I wanna do this? Maybe I should go from here, here, up there. Yeah, I think that. I'm trying to figure out the best pathway. So I'm gonna start up here and then go down to there. And then I'm gonna come back in here and just tie this off. And then I have to kind of go to the next, so I kind of have to go over here, and I'm gonna be basically doing back stitches for this, and back down here. And this is where I think it does end up taking up quite a lot of string. Now that I've picked my colors, I'm gonna try to create a little bit less chaos. Okay, now I'm thinking maybe I should go up like this and then come back down this way. I'm just trying to think of like the most efficient paths to go, which I assume is what you would normally do with embroidery. But I do think that makes the most sense, that I'm not having to have really long pieces in the back. Can we talk about how much of a win it is when you fairly accurately guesstimate the amount of thread or yarn or something you need? Because this is how much I have left, so that's kind of great. All right, so that's kind of the first section done. I'm realizing now I could have left that tail longer in order to tie it off, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tie it around this one instead. And I think that'll be just fine. I honestly thought about using yarn or warp string or something to do this, but then I realized that the really nice thing about embroidery thread or embroidery floss, whatever you want to call it, is it just lays a lot thinner because it kind of goes flat, whereas warp string is a little bit more dense and you're not going to get it to sit as flat as embroidery floss. So that's why ultimately I was like, you know what, I'm just going to use the correct material for this project. So now that I have that dark blue done, I'm thinking maybe I want to go in with the flowers next. I'm realizing this is really kinked, but maybe it won't matter in the end. I don't know. I took a nice long length because I really don't want to have to take a second piece. And then for the middles of the flowers, I think I might do the light blue. So for this, I'm just going to be doing the petals of the flowers. So let's start up here maybe, down to this one, and then we can tie this off. I'm realizing again, I should really start, if I started here and went around here, then it's less of a jump to the next one. But I guess at some point there's gonna be a jump anyway. So I'm just gonna go with this. There's gonna be a lot going on in the back of this. I think it's definitely a good idea to cut off some of the excess after you tie it because it seems like it's kind of catching on the string. Okay, that's pretty cute. I think it definitely is giving a little bit more starburst than it is flower. Wow, words. But I'm totally okay with that. So now I'm gonna jump down to here. Now that I have all the holes punched in and I'm just at the part where I get to stitch, I am definitely enjoying this. It's kind of fun, especially through paper. And there is something about having the pattern kind of marked out for you so that when you actually get to this part, the stitching part, it's even more enjoyable because you don't have to be thinking about where you're gonna stitch next. So I do like that. Ooh, I'm really liking this so far. It's really cute. And I need to decide if I'm gonna use this yellow anywhere else because next I was gonna do the blue. So I basically need to decide what the outline color is gonna be. Maybe that should be what is bringing back the yellow in, is the whole outline being yellow. I think that's gonna make the most sense, but at the same time, you could literally do whatever you want and I think it would probably look good. So I'm gonna tie this off. So I'll go ahead and save this piece for when I'm doing the outline. And then I'm gonna move on now to the lighter blue. So since I'm gonna do the light blue on some of these angles, so this bigger sort of partial triangle, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the middles of the flowers with this as well. And I'll grab a nice long piece of this as well. Because again, I have no reference point on how much thread I need for each section, so I'm really guessing here. Now, the other question is, how am I gonna even do the middles of the flowers? I didn't really think about that. Maybe I'll end on the, on the flowers. So I did all those like angular pieces, sections, I don't know what to call them. I did all those parts. So now I'm gonna try to figure out these flower centers because I realized I only have one hole, but I was really wanting to do like a French knot, but now I'm like, how would I do a French knot in this situation? But maybe it'll work. I'm just gonna try one and see. I'm gonna do 3 wraps and go back down the same hole and see if this will work. Okay, that's not so bad. That's actually kind of cute. So it feels a little bit backwards from how you would normally do. Well, I guess the only difference is that normally when you do a French knot, you would go back down a different hole. But basically what I'm doing is I'm holding the thread up like this. I have my needle pointing up. I'm gonna wrap it around 3 times, and then I'm gonna go back down the same hole. And then I want to try to keep that knot close to the paper as I tighten it. Oh, that one worked so much better. So yeah, that totally works. This one is a little bit bigger, but that's okay. This is actually turning out cuter than I thought. I mean, I was hoping it would be cute, but you know what I mean? Sometimes you do something and you're like, is this gonna be cute? And I think the answer for this is yes. So I'm kind of holding my thumb on the knot. I'm hoping that'll kind of, yeah. So it just helps it stay in place and tighten properly. But that's pretty cute, if you ask me. Okay, So I think that's all the light blue I'm gonna add. So next I'm gonna go back in with the dark blue to do these sections. I could bring in a fourth color, but I don't really think I want to. I don't think it's necessary. So I'm gonna tie this off. You can see the back is getting pretty crazy, so I'm interested to see basically like how thick this ends up and like overall with the backing paper on it. But I feel like, you know, a woven bookmark is decently thick, so it's probably not going to be the end of the world. Next up, I'm going to go back to this dark blue to do those little triangles. Okay, so I finished that last little blue triangle. So I'm gonna tie that off, and then we get to put the back on the front. So that's like the whole front finished. And I will say this, it did stitch together quicker than I thought that it would. I'm sure that someone who is, you know, a lot more experienced with embroidery would be much faster than me. There's no doubt in my mind about that, but I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't take as long to actually do the stitching as I thought it would. I think the prep work is where the time is spent, but then it does really make the actual stitching part quite enjoyable. So now when I work on the outside, I'm a little bit nervous because I just don't know how to tie the ends off. So I've tied it onto here, and then I just picked a hole. I did the fourth one down, and I'm gonna just tighten this up, and then I need to start stitching from front to back. So I'm gonna go through that fourth hole again, and I'm just gonna come up like this. We're gonna see if this is gonna work. So that's my first stitch. Next, I'm gonna go to the third one from the top. So I am working from right to left. And it's a little tricky to line these holes up. So this way, we're coming through that loop right away. There we go. And I do want to try to keep this string up on the top. So now I'm going to do that again. And then the corners, so we're going to do one. So then I'm gonna do one that comes around the corner. It's a little bit wonky, I'm not gonna lie. So I basically just let it come around the corner because I'm just not really sure how to do it any other way. This is my lack of experience with embroidery is certainly showing. I think I'm getting the hang of this now. So I'm kind of holding this up with my left hand, then I'm going through here, automatically bringing it through this loop. And then what we're trying to do is keep this string on the edge, like so. So it kind of just finishes off the edge, and a lot more practice needs to happen in order for me to feel sufficient at this. But you know what? You don't have to be an expert at something to just try it and have fun. Okay, I think I'm gonna need to start a new piece soon. And I'm like, that's not gonna be fun at all. But I'm kind of at the point where I'm gonna need to. So can I just knot this here? We're gonna try. If I knot that there, and then I fish it down into here. I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm just gonna use some pliers to grab that needle. Okay, we're gonna put that in there. A little bit of extra bulk there now, but that's fine. I'm gonna grab a new piece. How long is the new piece? Longer than I think I need. I'm doing some weird things, okay? We're experimenting. I'm gonna go ahead and knot these two ends together. So I have my previous end and the current one. And I'm just making this up at this point because I don't actually know the right way. So I would highly recommend finding a actual tutorial on blanket stitch because I definitely am like, wow, yep, that's clearly something that I need to learn because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm gonna put these ends down in here. Get rid of them. Oh, maybe that's the ticket. Gonna bring this through here. Oh, I think I did it. That was like, I feel like the weirdest pathway to get to where I was going, but it worked, so I'm going with it. But I'm sure someone has like an actual, you know, concise tutorial on how to do blanket stitch and how to connect pieces, because mine is a little bit wonky. But what is life if not a little bit wonky, am I right? Something I really love about trying new types of projects is realizing that things that look easy aren't always easy. Even with this blanket stitch, I thought it would be super easy to get it to look really, really nice, and it actually just isn't. That's kind of all it is it's not just easy right off the bat. It becomes easy by practicing. Okay, I've done it. I made it to the end. So I'm gonna figure out how to finish this off, which I think is gonna be similar to how I finished the other end off. I'm going to try to knot this. And I'm wondering if I'll be able to sneak this back into the thing. I don't know if that's gonna be possible. Actually, maybe I need to go down in here. Okay, I'm gonna try this. I wish I could get that back down in there, but I don't know if I can. So I'm just gonna snip that off. All right, you guys, my paper bookmark is all done. Let's have a look at the finished piece. So this was more of a challenge than I thought it would be, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And if you enjoyed this video, check out this one next.